There's a lot of players anxiously awaiting the release of Diablo IV next year, and a lot of split opinions on the upcoming title. We've also seen a lot of interview footage released on IGN's YouTube channel that puts a very positive spin on the development of the game. But to some players, these interviews haven't necessarily eased their concerns as much as they've lowered their expectations for the game. I'd love to be all rainbows and butterflies, boys, but it's time somebody tells it like it is. You might be wondering why we had to go to IGN's YouTube channel to find out all of this information, and why Blizzard didn't just put something out in the first place. Well, that's because at Blizzard, they've got 200 IQ. There's a concept in the marketing industry known as earned media, which basically means that Blizzard can rely on content creators to hype their game up and don't have to spend their own marketing money to do so. 200 IQ. Just like that time they had an open beta, but required everyone to sign a non-disclosure agreement to participate. What an amazing opportunity it was for content creators all around the world. They could spend hours on the game, gather their thoughts and opinions from high-level gameplay and critique, and then not talk about it. And then there's the respecking in Diablo IV. Remember the good old days of Diablo II, back before there were respec tokens? The good old days where if you misclicked a skill point at level 75, you deleted your entire fucking character and started again? Well, they're bringing it back in D4. They'll let you respec at low levels for cheap, but if you misclick after level 50, you best be thinking about deleting that entire character and starting again.
There's going to be a point in time where you go like, oh, I would like to be a different barbarian, but it's too expensive to undo everything I've done. It's actually better for me to roll another barbarian and start a new one.
That's right, delete that fucking barb and start over. We're making PvP a thing in this game, and you know that the top duelers didn't mess their builds up. In Diablo 2, when your friends were done laughing at you for your stupid build, one of them might trade you a token to respect your character, but in D4, they know you don't have friends. And even if you did, they're not going to help you, because there's no trading in this game. People don't care about items and the value that they trade for in Diablo games or any games in general. That's nonsense. At Blizzard, they believe Diablo 3 was the greatest game in the franchise, so they're taking pages out of that game's book. The one where the butterfly kills Deckard Cain, in case you didn't remember which one it was. Soul-bound items, account-bound items. They're gonna have it all in this game. Why would they make a fair and functional form of in-game trading in D4? You want in-game currency? Maybe you wanted an auction house that doesn't create a paywall. Fuck out of here. There's a rule in the industry known as the 80-20 rule, where you can solve 80% of a problem by doing 20% of the required work. In-game trading is difficult, so you know what? No trading. 80-0. 200 IQ. We're taking the baby out with the bathwater in D4. Adults are not to be trusted with freedom. Freedom to trade items, freedom to respec characters, or freedom to talk about this game. But maybe there's freedom to explore what they're calling an open world. Remember Breath of the Wild and how good that open world was? A world that was truly open, allowing players to go to the final boss within minutes if they felt froggy enough, or if they were a seasoned player. Do you remember how good that freedom felt? Well, forget it. Nintendo is for babies, and freedom is for babies. D4 is a real open world where you are free to explore places that Blizzard allows you to. You can discover overrun cities and conquer them, just as long as you've made it that far in the storyline and are allowed to access that part of the world. You can discover monsters in this open world with chains around their wrists, ready to wrap them around a player and hold their hand. Monsters that are so rich from stepping all over players that they puke gold, with blatant disregard as to whether or not they're even connecting with players anymore. Blizzard released Diablo II Resurrected in an attempt to shut players up last year, but it backfired. It was the best game released in the franchise in the last 20 years. The one before that was the original Diablo II. You think they'd take pages out of that game's book, but you're wrong. It's time for something new. And by new, I mean no. No runes, no rune words, no trading, no respecking, no freedom. It's all online, so no single player, no modding. All of the things you loved about your favorite Diablo games, trash them. They're committing to make continuous content to add to the game each season in an attempt to bring people back like in D3, the best game in the franchise, now darker. One of the biggest draws to the Diablo franchise, especially with Diablo 2, has always been that it's felt like the Wild West. And yes, that does come with some drawbacks, but the more freedom that you give to players, the more immersed they feel in the game. Don't make it absolutely unaffordable to fix your character at a high level when you finally learn how to play the game. and force a player to start over. Don't restrict a player's ability to trade away the nasty items that they find. Yes, indeed, if you have free trade in a game, I know what you're thinking. It does lead to bots. If you have bots in your game, it's a sign that your game is valuable. You need to get better at banning those bots, at catching those bots, at securing your own servers and games. People make the argument that having free trade leads to pay to win, and that's because they're confused. A pay to win game is something like Diablo Immortal, where you literally can't trade your items away. You have to buy them from the game and then hope that you get what you want. And if you're ever doing PvP in that game, you certainly need the best items. That one is certainly pay to win. Just because an item has value outside of the game doesn't necessarily mean that it's pay to win. The million forum gold sin that we talked about in literally the last video, days are kicked down to a budget version and is still kicking ass in the DFC at the highest level of competition. I don't believe the answer to the whole pay to win argument that people jump behind like they have some sort of moral righteous ground on the internet is by getting rid of trading altogether. Instead, it involves good game design, where you don't base the entire skill or power of your character around items, but instead the way it's built and the skill level of the player. I know that's easy to say and a lot harder to design, but someone's got to say it.